Hello and welcome back to The Journey. I'm your host for this week, Rachel Sielski. Today I'm going to get to interview Nolan Curran about the Christian Life Scholarship and also get to interview Josh Sumpter about Easter. I'm super excited to be here and sit back, relax. You're watching The Journey. Hello and welcome back to The Journey. I'm your host for this week, Rachel Sielski. Today I'm here with Nolan Curran. Nolan, how are you doing today?
Doing good. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
So first I just want to start off, so you're going to be talking about the Christian Life Scholarship.
Yes.
So I also want to get to know a little bit more about you. So why did you come to Waynesburg University?
That's kind of a long story, but I first came to Waynesburg with a ROTC scholarship. So I got that in high school, and I wanted to go to a small Christian university, but it's kind of hard to find one that can take an ROTC scholarship for the Army. So Waynesburg was on the list, and I decided to come down here, and I was looking for a nursing program, as I'm a nursing major too. And yeah, it kind of fit all the bills, so I came down here and kind of fell in love with it. So it's kind of the journey. I'm not in ROTC anymore, but that's all part of the Lord's plan. So
Absolutely.
still on the nursing track though. We're going strong.
Right. So do you want to be a nurse someday? That's
the goal.
where you're gunning for?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I could be a nurse. That takes a lot of, staying up and courage. So kudos to you for
Thank you. Yeah, 2 more years. We'll be
taking
there.
a career in nursing.
Yeah.
So can you just explain what is the Christian Life Scholarship exactly?
Sure. Yeah, the Christian Life Scholarship is a 4-year scholarship. You apply for it right before your freshman year, and it's a faith-based program on campus or scholarship. Really cool opportunity. So when you apply, you have to have a letter of recommendation from a pastor or someone for a faith-based recommendation. You're supposed to be active in your local church and then have a growing faith with the Lord. Really cool. And then once you're on campus, if you get accepted for that scholarship, you're going to be paired with a mentor on campus. And that mentor is going to help you. You're going to meet with him hopefully weekly, however, as much as you can. You'll have faith-based conversations with him, grow a relationship with them. It's really amazing. We try to set them up with a mentor, maybe of the same major, same discipline, whatever they're studying, or just somebody that they're really connected to, like maybe a pastor, or maybe just somebody in that major or a professor that is also really interested in faith and wanting to help that student grow. So it's a really cool opportunity. But yeah, it's just so, we want to grow at WU, and we also want students to grow in their faith with the Lord. So that's another opportunity for it, is through this scholarship. So yeah, it's a great program.
Okay, so now, is their mentor like a senior student, or is it a professor that will be their mentor? Or?
So it's so the scholarship's only 2 years old. Mm-hmm. I was one of the first students to get this scholarship. And so as of right now, there's not really any senior students at the moment. There's only sophomores and freshmen. So yes, we're being paired with professors, members of the community who are, leaders, like pastors, people in the church. So as of right now, no. But yeah, maybe that could change in the future. We'll see.
Oh, awesome, yeah. Awesome. Okay. So what are the exact responsibilities of when you get this scholarship of it?
Well, there's not a whole lot. One of them is that you have to meet with your mentor at least 4 times per month, or per semester, sorry. And then also we just want you to be an example and a leader on campus faith-wise. So I think, as a Christian, we're told that we are in the image of Christ, and we need to be living out that image every day. Absolutely. And I think one of the, requirements of the scholarship is to be doing that on campus.
Of course.
I don't see myself taking a huge active role, as you might see with maybe a campus leader like a CMA, campus ministry assistant. But it's still being, we're a big diverse group, so we have a lot of sports groups. I know I'm in cross country and track. There's some softball. We have a whole different group of people in the scholarship so far, and I think it's standing up, being an example, in our different organizations that we're in.
Yeah, I like that, because I did cross country and track in high school, and I'm still an avid runner today.
Yeah.
So you do it in college now?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so, well, the way I look at running is it's a good therapy for me almost. It's a good time for me to like, of course, I feel good and like I can say prayers when I'm running.
Yeah.
So I love that aspect of it.
No, it's amazing. It's a great time to like, you know, be in your head thinking about things.
Absolutely.
You know, out there. When you have a lot of miles to go through, you can think about a lot.
Of course. I can definitely see that. So what is like the future of this scholarship, do you believe?
I think the future of the scholarship is just building that faith on campus. You know, growing. If we have, so every year there's supposed to be up to 4 or maybe a few. I think we got 6 new freshmen this year. So there was 4 originals of us sophomores, and then there's 6 freshmen this year. And I think the plan is to hopefully bring in 8, but at least 4 next semester as well. But I just think it's, you know, growing this body on campus that is really, you know, trying to live out the Christian life and bringing others and being examples for Christ. So that's where I really see this scholarship going, is, you know, this mentorship role that we have with our mentors and everything, you know, building relationships, building community and faith-based community. Yeah.
Absolutely. One thing I've loved is I haven't been able to make it to as many meetings as I would like to because I'm so busy this semester, but I've really enjoyed, I love Delight, you know, campus ministry group Delight. That is every Thursday at 5, right?
I think so. I do believe so, yeah.
Yeah, I've gone to, I want to say 1 or 2 meetings. Like I said, I'd like to go to more, but I've just been so busy. I think that's another wonderful thing that they have on campus.
No, a lot of good opportunities. You know, the CMA Bible studies are great opportunities to connect on campus. And then I think another important part of the Christian Life Scholarship is we all go to different local churches in the area. So if other students are looking to connect on, you know, connect to a local church, since there are no like church services on campus on Sundays, this is another great opportunity. We know people, we know friends, and we're encouraged to invite others to, you know, where we go to church on Sundays. So it's amazing.
Absolutely. And like, you know, on campus we have, of course, the main opportunities like chapel every Tuesday at 11 and upper room, which is every Sundays at 8. And I love chapel, but I think upper room even more because it's like, you know, student-led worship, and I love that part of it.
It was a great time. Good time of fellowship, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. So who can receive this scholarship exactly?
So any incoming student, and like I said, you need that letter of recommendation from maybe a pastor or someone in your church, like a deacon, maybe an elder. And then also you have an essay to write. I believe the essay prompt might change every once in a while, but it's mostly about your life, you know, your growing Christian life and your faith.
Does it have to be like a couple pages, or how many exactly?
I think mine was maybe 2 pages.
Oh, okay.
I think, you know, not a lot, not horrible. And then there is a GPA requirement while in school. So once you do get that scholarship, I think it's a 3.25 GPA that you have to maintain.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah. And I don't know if that high school, it's been a couple years now for me, so I forget if there was a high school GPA to get it. But yeah, so mostly that, and not a whole lot. It's a great one.
Yeah, okay. So how many can go out for it in a year? Do you know?
In a year for getting accepted, or for just trying out for the scholarship or applying for it?
Just like both of those.
You know, I couldn't give you any numbers off the top of my head, but I will say next semester, so the fall, we should be accepting 4 to maybe 8 new students.
Okay, wonderful. Well, Nolan, thank you so much for being on the show this week. It's been wonderful to have you.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, when we come back, I will be interviewing Professor Josh Sumpter about Easter, so stick around and you're watching The Journey.
Have you ever been to the Everly Library? If not, you should, because it's great. They have books of all different genres: history, biography, fiction. Try The Evolution of Life, Life of Pi, or Jurassic Park. So what if books aren't your thing? Try movies like Frozen, or TV shows like Lost. Books and DVDs aren't the only thing though. Take a trip to the 2nd floor. Welcome to the Writing Center. These tutors will tell you everything you need to know about writing a paper, and they'll help revise your essays. Now let's head back down. Behold, the Knox Learning Center. Need to print something out 5 minutes before your next class because you procrastinated? No problem. You can also print off pictures of dogs. Because, well, you can. So grab your homework, laptop, and textbook, and study diligently. Bring your lunch too. Actually, you can't. That's illegal. Now you know the Everly Library. Stop by anytime. Seriously, it's open all week.
Hello and welcome back to The Journey. I'm your host for this week, Rachel Sielski. Today I am joined by Professor Josh Sumpter. So Mr. Sumpter, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. It's good to be here again.
Yeah, it's great to have you again. It's so nice when you come, and it's great to interview you on the show, so I'm glad you're here. So I want to start off by talking about, a very special holiday, Easter. So I'm just going to hit you with the most obvious question. What is Easter?
Yeah, Easter is a celebration for the Christian tradition and the liturgical calendar to mark the resurrection of Jesus, right? That Jesus was crucified, and then 3 days later, he is risen. He is no longer in the tomb, and so Easter commemorates that incredibly unique and supernatural event in the Christian tradition.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, before Easter, we have Good Friday. And so do you want to go into a little bit about Good Friday as well?
Yeah, I mean, Good Friday is good. Jesus is fulfilling the mission, right? And it's good because of what we know that unfolds a couple of days later with the resurrection. But it's really sad too. In other traditions, it is often referred to as kind of mourning Friday, a day of sadness, a day of reflection, a day of commemoration of the crucifixion of Jesus. And I think sometimes we can miss out on that because we've kind of commercialized wearing crosses or talking about the cross and perhaps missing out on the pain and suffering and even the mourning that took place on that day. But ultimately that day is good because Jesus sacrifices for the sins of humanity, and his resurrection reveals that he has victory even over death itself.
Absolutely. What we were talking about in my theater class just a couple days ago, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie The Passion of the Christ.
Oh, yes.
I've seen it a few times. It's a little difficult for me to watch because especially like when they're crucifying him, it's very like brutal, I think, but I think it's a good like spot on depiction of what actually happened.
Yeah, the word passion for the Passion of the Christ is the same root for what we would say suffering, right? The suffering of Jesus that takes place at the hands of both the Jewish council but the Roman officials of the day. Jesus is kind of charged with these two false crimes, blasphemy and stirring up a rebellion, and he's crucified publicly. It's a humiliating death. And many people die that way in the first century. It's public execution, and yet it's not the end of the story, right? For Christians, it's a big part of what unfolds for Jesus. But this Christian story culminates with this resurrection event and then ultimately ascension, where Jesus is united. The Trinity is together, right, in heaven.
Yeah, I mean, it really just, when I watch it, it really just kind of makes me feel so sad, but I have to remember that that's what, of course, actually happened, and it was so, we can be forgiven for our sins, and I think, of course, that's a wonderful thing. So, next up, what does Easter mean exactly?
Yeah, Easter for me is this reminder that we have victory as Christians because Jesus has victory even over death itself, right? And if Jesus is alive because of the resurrection, then he's eternally alive. He is not bound to the same parameters that we experience as humans. He's no longer in the grave. Peter in Acts chapter 2 makes the case that there's a lot of great faith heroes that have died and were still in the grave, and yet Jesus has overcome death. We see that in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, where Paul says, death has no sting. And so the meaning's not just a description of what happens for Jesus, but it also gives believers hope that we too will have resurrection bodies and be united with Christ, who is alive, who is victorious over all things, the powers of this world and death itself.
Absolutely. Now, I was raised Catholic, so on Easter we would always go to Easter Vigil Mass, which was like usually the night before Easter, and it is a longer type of church service. But it's a really like wonderful church service. And do you think there's like a difference between going to an Easter Vigil Mass or just like going to Sunday morning Mass on Easter?
I can't really speak to that in the Catholic tradition, but I would say there seems to be more of a reverence on Sunday, Easter Sunday morning, or perhaps Saturday evening, where individuals come to church looking to celebrate Easter, right? And to remember what Jesus has done. I think similar to Christmas, there's more of an awareness of why people are gathering and what they're celebrating. But Easter Sunday, I know, at least the church that I attend, there's a little bit more of a liturgy where people call and respond, He is risen, and He is risen indeed. And there's this kind of celebration in unison that we've all gathered for the same purpose. Whereas other Sundays, maybe we come with our own agendas, or we're a little bit scattered, or maybe there's different parts of the service that might stick out to us. But I feel like on Easter Sunday, the body of Christ comes together and is united in celebrating Jesus who rose from the dead.
Absolutely. And do you think maybe you can give a little bit of insight on, just from what you know, of the Lenten season, which is a big part of Easter?
Yeah, I think the Lenten season is really beautiful in the liturgical calendar, where God's people can reflect on just our finitude, that we are finite beings, that we need to recognize that, like, one day we will all die, that we will return to the ground, right? The dust of the earth. And the Lenten season gives us this kind of these weekly reminders to reflect on who God is and who we are. And then, of course, culminating here with Holy Week, and just the multitude of emotion that's packed into that week, as you described, the mourning, but also the celebration.
Absolutely. Well, Mr. Sumpter, thank you so much for joining us again. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show. It's been great talking to you. When we come back, I will have my word of encouragement for you all. So stick around and don't go anyplace. Hello and welcome back to The Journey. I'm your host for this week, Rachel Sielski. So now I'm going to give you guys my word of encouragement. I want you all to remember that, of course, this time of year can get very stressful with it being the semester and getting, finals will be coming up closer than we think. So I want everybody to know that always remember that with God, nothing is impossible. And the only thing that matters is whether in God's eyes something that you desire is good for you or not. If it is God's will for your life, do not look at the impossibility, but put your hope in God. He is bigger and stronger than all the giants you are facing at the moment. So believe that you can rise up in God's strength today. And of course, don't look back at your past and lose hope, and do not despair. There is forgiveness with God, and He wants you to rise up in His strength. He will rebuild your life once again, the faults and cracks and mistakes and failures and regrets, all that you have. And I think that's a wonderful thing. So best of luck with the rest of the semester, everybody, and I hope you guys are doing well, and I was happy to host this episode of The Journey, so thank you.
This has been a production of Waynesburg Community Television.